Sure. I'm glad before I even touch on that side, I'm glad you mentioned cybersecurity insurance. I have a school district that reached out to me yesterday. The cybersecurity insurance company will no longer support them unless they get in compliance with some sort of SIM product or or data management and backup restore. So we talked to them about having a SIM and the rubric product that we've been reviewing for some of the other districts. But I will review or give you an overview of what we did for one of the districts in North Florida. COVID was a major challenge to this district, as it was to most others. One of the issues that the district had was that the teachers were using their own phones, their cellular phones, to support the students and the parents. So using the ESSA funds, we were able to give them a VoIP phone system. We shored up their firewalls, their endpoint protection, and we did such a good job with that that they asked us also to help with their networking, their wireless, and cameras. Just recently, this last month, we were able to give them, again using their ESSA dollars, a SIM product that ties into this presentation today.
Thanks, Viv. And I would also add to that, Viv has done a great job of helping school districts to understand with some of the policy changes. We've seen some folks that have been a bit hesitant or concerned about whether or not this use of funding is permissible because stuff has changed so much. She's done a great job of being able to provide them with the resources and the information they need to identify and determine what type of stuff is permissible, how this stuff has changed, and how these policies have changed to allow technology to become a bigger priority and a bigger target for ESSER dollars. In addition to ESSER funding, this is both a state and federal partnership in regard to funding, but the Department of Emergency Management at the state level has received funding from FEMA and Department of Homeland Security to utilize and support state-level cybersecurity grants as well. Those specifically target cybersecurity, but the challenge we've seen with those is that they follow state-specific guidelines. So we can't provide a particular guidance that applies across the board, state to state. We'll have to do that as a individual state assessment process. Say North Carolina, where we're working right now, they've just reissued their allocation that came from last year. They decided not to release it in 2022. They've now decided to release it in 2023. That deadline, I believe, is going to be April 30th. The state of Florida, by contrast, released the funding, then decided not to release it, then kind of did a slow rollout for it, and is now kind of repackaged it as a slightly different program covering a broad array of entities across the state. So every state is approaching this a little bit differently, but this is another bucket of funding available. For every state, it'll be available sometime in 2022, but you have to work with your individual departments of emergency management to determine what those specific requirements are and what that deadline is. Again, that's something that we work with quite a bit. But again, utilizing those resources at the state level, that's stuff that is going to be available to you directly, regardless of who you work with.